Thank Gonzo, it's Friday. I'm going to go ahead and start making a long-ass video, over an hour long, like I did last week, because you guys seem to really like that one. To start with, this is an old gravity frame. This is that one that kid gave me for free. You can kind of see the gravity on there. You can just use acetone to remove that. I'll probably try to clean it up again, just to completely remove it. And I was looking at an old video that I had posted, I think, a year or two ago from, it was this frame, but it was with a DD motor, a redline motor. I'll have to do some research to see if they actually use this frame. It's a really nice frame. It looks like a 9-1/4 inch Spider. I would rather it be a little taller on the landing so it would have a little more downstroke, but the opening is quite large, so if you wanted to use spacers in between the motor, like this, you know, like that, just to give it a little more downstroke, that would be probably wonderful. I wanted to make at least one of these with the GONZO Junior motor before we're out of them. I think I only have like 3 or 4 left. But it came with the 145 millimeter pattern, which I'm going to add to the revision 2 of the GONZO motor, which I'll be ordering here pretty soon. And I think I might still do pre-orders for $200 each. You just save $50. Not like we did last time. We don't really need the help, but I do like the promotion, and I think it's a fun thing and a fun way for you guys to make some easy money. Because again, once you build out the woofer, you should be selling it on par with like a 12W7, speaking of which, shifted, and those go for, I think, $1,200 or $1,300. So if you even get $800 out of it, that's a win for you. And it also helps get your work out there. But what I had the metal shop, I went and had the metal shop do a bunch of stuff for me. Right now they're slow, and so I'm able to get my stuff in there. I just had them add the 135 millimeter bolt hole circle. See, add 135 BHC by 6 at 1/4 inch. And so they added that, so now it's compatible with the current version of the GONZO Junior motors that I have. So we'll build that out. I had a guy send me this one from, I think it's Belly, I don't know. This is a very old design that was first originated by Glenn, I think. I'll ask George at Lord of Bass. Glenn had originally designed the LVS, also known as Elvis, for Memphis, using a dual frame design like this in a long former, and it used a 8-inch spider here and then an 8-inch spider here. And the idea, at least the theory behind this, is to keep it more linear. The problem with it is that it doesn't need all that to be linear. In fact, I think it's kind of a lame hodgepodge on this version anyway. They just floated the leads. They didn't even use. That means they use cheap spiders. Both spiders are very soft. The motor isn't quite tall enough to even allow for more excursion. And so what I'm going to do is go ahead and pull this whole thing apart, and then ask the guy what does he want me to make it. But I'll go ahead and put the gap dims on an Audio Guts video so that you guys, if you come across one of these, they're blank. So you can make this anything that you want. And you can put, I'm guessing that you can put any frame you want on here for the most part. So it does not need to be this way in order to be linear and stay linear. That you don't get any more excursion, anything like that. You can just, and this goes back, I'll put a link to it in the description of the original LVS that I had converted to a standard 15 Mojo, which is, it's the same woofer, it just doesn't have 2 frames. Now this adapter plate is fun to keep, just in case somebody doesn't believe you when you're building this and they're like, well, I want 2 frames because it looks fucking like a big penis and I like big penises. And then you go, okay, well, here you go. And then you build it for them. So, but for the most part, you don't need that. I do like this gasket though, with the no holes in it. I always like that look. Just kind of invisible stealth. And this is that Klipsch dust cap that I carry. I didn't know it was a Klipsch dust cap until I saw one on a Klipsch, and then I was like, oh yeah, so that's what I'm going to call it now. It's almost a flat dust cap. It's just poly, but I will pull this apart and just see how it's built. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be anything surprising, and you can't do any more than like 40 millimeter wind height on a motor that shallow. It looks like it's just a dual slug, maybe a dual 1, maybe a dual 20 millimeter. I don't know. Somebody had asked me about this one. We got 3 out of the 4 bolts out of it. Oh, focus. But it's still good. It's fine. Again, why Jacob only used 4 holes? I think it was mostly because of the frames, the standard hole pattern on the 12 spoke and the 4 spoke. I think one uses a 100 millimeter and the other one uses a 90 millimeter. So they're off by just a little bit. When I did want to make 8s, I was going to have the top plate made with both hole patterns, so that way I could sell the motor and you guys can put on whatever frame you wanted. But again, there's not, it's so disappointing with the 8s. I think that's Neo. Yeah, that's a Neo slug. It's so disappointing with the 8s because people want them to sound like a 12, and it's like, no, you have to put on a 12-inch cone in order to do that. Then it sounds like a 12. Then it's kind of a wussy 12. It's not even a really strong 12. And so, again, the way that you get more boom is you go with a bigger motor, because there's more stored energy in here. So you can send more energy to it, and it'll be returned because of the energy that's already stored in there. To me, it's like magic, because that energy storage is like infinite. It's always there, and it always gives back. As long as you don't saturate it, you're good forever. So we got a Mr. Music Man 15 in, and I'll be doing these Sundown SA. They're called the SA Classic now, but these are the V1s. Rev 1, I think, because they have the chrome. The Rev 2 came with a black. They did a black anodization, black oxide. So I got my Amazon P jug here. We got some more Neo, some Cicada stuff, and then I have a SAV2 coil that I'm going to send my little buddy. I thought I sent him the coil, but I guess I had. It looked very similar to this, and I sent it to him, and it was the wrong size. So this one's got a little bit of rubbing inside just from over excursion. Oh, somebody's calling. Let me call them back. But this one's good, and I got to pull the leads off to see what impedance it is. So, but he bought one of these off me for $40, and so I got to make sure he gets taken care of. Oh, I'm doing this prototype as well. I have a nice couple of pallets of this steel, these steel parts, and I have a few of these magnets left. They're kind of oversized. I think it's 180 millimeters, so it's got a little bit of overlap, but I think that would make a good shallow subwoofer with a 2.5-inch coil. But I got a lot of these T-yokes, and mostly we've been using them to make the VTO Extreme, where I take I have a crusty version that's like a chrome that got rusted, and so then we just use that for the pole, and then we add the pole to this one, and then we turn it down a little bit. But that's what makes this one's actually a little different. I think maybe we're using these for the pole. So yeah, there's another one that I use that has a bumped back plate, which I like. Oh, that's why, because it has it's a larger diameter, so it has more coverage here. Because usually if you have this overlap like that, like it's sticking out a lot, you have a big flux ring, like you have leakage. You want the steel to kind of capture and harness all the flux that this thing is yielding, storing. And so that's the only reason. Will it still work? Yes. Does it look a little different? Yes. But I usually have Ash go back and put a epoxy bead right here, and then you just use your finger like caulking and go back and smooth it down, and it actually ends up looking really good. And I think that's kind of what the finish looked to be on a lot of these. This was a magnet that I reserved for Peter. I think this is actually off of a Memphis M6. Well, here, let me show you the steel on that one. So I mostly, for the M6, I wanted mostly just for the frame, and you guys saw how I built that one out. So, but this is the M6 steel, and I was watching, this was a while ago, I was watching Jacob, what's his name? Fuller. He was bad-mouthing this one because there's not enough steel. Remember how I just talked about over there? You want to have enough steel here to absorb and collect the magnetic flux that's emanating or stored in the ferrite. And so I thought to widen that, what I could do is bolt this on top. So, but then now you want to lengthen. Now it's a real big bumped and vented T-yoke. So you want to increase this. And then also if you wanted to change it into a 3-inch, you could as well. In fact, somebody had the idea of just adding this, which is already ready to go, and then it would actually be a dual gap. So this, you'd have this steel and this steel as a gap, but you'd have to make sure that you have a coil that fits it, and then a top plate that would accommodate the coil. But again, I don't really want to get into Neo unless the Neo is way out here on this. Oh, this is the one. This is basically done. We got the steel done for this. I'm going to go ahead and brush this on all the sides, and then we're going to remove the silver paint, get it down to bare metal, bolt this onto there, and then we're going to clear coat the whole thing. And then I got to clear coat this. So it's got a little bit of surface flash rust on it, but once we get the clear coat on in there, it'll stop it. I think that was it for that. So that's going to go on that. That's live. I don't really want to get, oh, there. Oh shit. I forgot that one. I'm going to take this one in. I'm finally getting rid of all the 3 HP top plates. I don't know. Maybe I'll keep this one just as a model for the library. We went ahead and added some extra bolt hole patterns. I added the 127 to this one, and then you can see, I think these bolts, these holes are the alternate. See, this is the wider pattern. This is the more narrow pattern. Tilo had put, I don't know why he changed patterns, the 4-hole pattern for the LA Storm frame. And so what we do is whenever we get a Storm frame, I typically add both of these 4-hole patterns. And then if I can, I even add the 127. So that way you can use that frame or top assembly for like a normal, normal motor that has the 5-inch hole pattern. Oh, and then I had talked about this in another video. This is the top plate for a T2. I think it's for that one over there. Boop. And, let me zoom out a little bit because I think I noticed. Come on, motherfucker. Zoom out. Thank you. So what we did was we added the 127 bolt hole circle and then the 135. So it can be used with version 1 or version 2 of the TI frames that you get from Lord of Bass. In this case, we're doing this one for Ryan Buck as a 12. And so we will be using the 135 bolt hole circle, and it'll also have a removable top assembly, which is what I also wanted to integrate into that design. Oh, and then I have this one. This one is the RE Audio MX, designed by Scott at Phi. And this is how, oops, sorry about that. This is how it normally was. And then it just used a double 1-inch slug set. And so it was a really thick gap that looks like a 1-inch gap, maybe even 30 millimeter. And I don't really like it like that. I would really want to go taller, but I don't really want to make it too tall. And so I thought, what if I just flipped it and did like a double or a triple Neo series of motors, like probably 5 of the double motors like those, and then put them in between with a little bit of overhang on the pole, meaning the pole is slightly taller than the gap, and that would be the design. So that's about right. And it would also yield, 3-inch peak to peak, because you want to have at least 1.5 to 2 inches downward stroke, so that way you can use the TI frame with it and have some good strokage. Riley, this is Riley's Rockford T2. I thought I screwed it up, but he just wants one spider because he wants really low FS. Basically, we're building him a high-performance home theater copper coil, and it'll have the same parameters as the other one that guy blew, which is like FS of like 24 hertz. So, but we'll confirm that using this web shooter spider. And then I texted Robert today. Robert is the one that killed the other T2. And I said, look, man, I'll recon it. Normally I charge like $250, $300. I said, look, I'll recon it for $200 if you try it again. And he's like, nope, I don't want it. I'm done. He's going to move on to Mr. Music Man because he thinks Mr. Music Man's better. And I'm like, okay, go for it. And So, and then I'm building his friend like a 12. And so I said, look, I'll give you $100 credit for the dead one. So that one's now available. And then what I'm going to do is build it with 2 of these spiders to see what the parameters are. I think it's going to bring up the FS still in about 30 hertz, which is where I want it, but it'll give a little more, what's the word? It'll allow for a little bit more punishment. So even though I showed him on the inside of the former how he discolored it, he got it red hot and all this kind of stuff, and he's a mechanic, and I even told him, I said, you know, you can do an LS swap in virtually any car, and if you don't do the rest of the drivetrain, you're just going to strip the fucking rear end out of it or break the drive shaft or, you know, something like that. And I go, that's what happens when you do, you know, upgrades and you just upgrade like one part. So, and which he understood, but, you know, some people still don't believe me or whatever. They've found something that they think is a better deal. And I'm like, okay. I don't like to argue with people anymore when they already have their mind made up. I'm like, you want to be racist? That's fine. That's your business. I don't give a shit. For some people, it's like a religion. So, and you don't want to sit there and tell people their religion is wrong. Unless you're a Mormon, then that's your job. But let's see. These two are the single 2 ohm. And then we have single 1 ohm. Those are already sold. We have I had to redo the TC Sounds ones. We're starting fresh. Oh, and then this one is almost finished. I got to talk to him. I think he wanted the Gonzo cone. Yeah. So I got to terminate this one today. This one should be good. This is the one, this is a 12W7 with the fairy blue finish. And then we took the top off, and I think we added the 8-hole pattern so that we can put a regular wraparound gasket on it. And then I went ahead and made some extra coil assemblies because I wanted to test them. So this is just a Lord of Base. I think it's a 9 1/4, but we had to still trim it just a hair. And this is the original coil, which is aluminum, flat aluminum. I had made some up as dual 2. I think these are only $50. So if you want to change your W7 to a dual 2, they're $50 and they're yours. And so we use the same spider, which is, it's pretty soft. It's not super soft like JL's were, but I still like them. And then I made that version, and these two use the flat copper Slim Jim coil because it fits. But remember I told you how JL uses the Kapton former so they can cheat. Well, that's because they use their, I'll say it, it's actually a shitty mount system, but does it look cool? Yeah. And is it patented? Yes. But you shouldn't be fucking around with this around. But, you know, whatever. Okay. And so this one will not use that clamp system that they developed 20 some odd years ago. It'll just be using the Gonzo, and then we'll do a wraparound gasket. So it'll be fixed. It won't move. And so I'm curious to see what kind of rattling or anything like that, because the gap is very thin. And at this one, we didn't have to oh, that's Ash. So I got to go in the front and let Ash in. But this one is fixed, so it should be pretty good on the performance. You'll see the testing and the parameters when I do it to see if you like it. And also it should be fine using a fixed surround instead of like their clamp system. Sorry, I had to go let Ash in. I made this one as well. This is a VTO Extreme. I meant to make it a VTO Supreme, but I'll have to just make more of those motors. This is that frame that you like, and then I'll go ahead and do the woofer pouring on this today. But I wanted to see what it would do, how it would perform, because it's got a 60 millimeter wind height, and this frame has a 10-inch spider landing. And so I wanted to see what the excursion would be, especially if you coupled it up with this. It should be 3 inches, which is what I did. Yeah, because I was able to get 3 inches out of that that first VTO Extreme that I made. It was off a Sundown SA V1 18, and they used a triple stack on that. And then all I did was use an 8-inch spider and then a Mega Roll cone from Lord of Base, and it was able to achieve 3 inches. So this will be interesting. One thing I do like about the 2.5-inch coils is that you can saturate them pretty easy, meaning that they're more sensitive and they have a little bit more BL, considering the same input as like a 3-inch coil. So, but they don't need a lot of power, if that makes sense. They're just more sensitive. The other one was, I think we're putting the cones on these today. This is the first one. This is the SCAR SDR 12-inch. I have one that's dual 2, and I have 2 that are dual 4. And this one I use the Lord of Bass yellow spider that you get like 10. They end up being really cheap. I buy them like 20 at a time because they're really great for like JL audio W6. They have a 2.5-inch ID and then I think a 7 or a 7.25 OD, and so they fit great for these. I think I had to put a little bit of TLC on the inner diameter because I used the 2 3/8 coil that these SDRs use, and so it was a little like it needed some filling. So I don't know if you can see it. And we did epoxy on the bottom side, and then so you can see in there, epoxy on the bottom side, and then CA just to hold the leads down on the top. So again, it's only a 600 watt woofer. It should be fine. And then I wanted to go. I've done these before with the 5 Series Johnny 5 cone, and I thought it was a little stiff, and so I went with these polycones that I have a ton of. All we do is we sand up this part of the surround and then that joint. So sometimes there's separation on the joint just because they get old and it's poly. And so what we do is then rough up the 200 millimeter concave. It fits in there like that. And then when we jizz it up with the E6000, we do that half of the surround as well as this joint. And we rough that up to just for, so for longevity. And then you just use the steel. This is the original gasket, but I have those JL Audio W0 gaskets that are American made. Those are only, what is it? It's $12 for the 10 and then $15 for the 12. I only have 10 and 12s. I really want to get some 15s. I got to check back with the tool maker, the tool and die people, to see if they have a 15-inch version. Because I think the original W6 15 only used the cork front or paper. It was a paper front because I remember it was made by a company out of it was the same company that Rockford uses out of Illinois. But anyways, I think that was it. I have the triple Dayton 18-inch Ultimax that I ended up removing the floppy inner flux ring, little aluminum ring, and so it's ready to go again. We're just doing it as a 12-spoke with a Slim Jim coil, and that's the original boot, and so that'll be a nice 12. And then I'm also going to build this one out as a 12. It's a little bigger on the OD, 220 millimeter, so just again to give that guy Robert, his friend, a couple of different options. And then I have this concept triple. I'm going to make this one a dual 4. It's good for 1200 watts, 1500 watts, and so I'm going to pair it up with that new Recoil Audio DI 1200.1, which is 2 ohm stable. D's Nuts, his 12-inch GONZO top assembly is ready and available. That'll be shipping out today. And then I'll do the woofer pouring and testing finally to get this out today for Johnny L out there in, is it Albuquerque? Can't remember. Somewhere in Las Vegas, or not Las Vegas, not Las Cruces, New Mexico. So, and that'll free up this motor too, guys. I got to make two more 24s and then 2 more 18s for you guys. Oh, this is a DDX 10D2 RMS 1000 watts that I'm going to debadge, turn into a 15, and put a sundown dust cap on it as a work of art and parody. This one is ready. This was a double stack, who was it? Q Power? It was a Q Power dead woofer that we got that I built out, but it turned out the ferrite was fractured and didn't show up until we put some power to it. I went ahead and replaced the ferrite, and I think I made this one dual 1. This one is dual 1. It's for sale. It's only $200 plus shipping, and it probably does right around 1200 watts RMS. And I did the red frame with the baboon butthole, 180 millimeter convex glass fiber cap. And then this one was built a while ago. This one, is this, yeah. This is the, what do you call it? The Rockford Fosgate T1 steel that I put a triple stack on. And then we made a tent. Oh, I think that was a fucking cat. God damn it. That's why I was stinking like piss this morning. Stinky pussies this morning. We made it a 10. I think this is available. I think it's dual 2. I'll have to double check. But this one we will do for $225 local, and then probably $280 shipped if you want this one. So, and I'll do woofer porn and TSPs on this one as well. What's this one? Oh, this is I was gonna do some, not stop motion, but some other stuff just to show you the debadge of the DDX, to show that it's actually better than the Sundown SA. Oh, and then I finally, I got these done. I had them drilled out 135 millimeter by 4, meaning 4 positions, as like a plus symbol or a cross, whatever you're into. Don't forget to buy your hollow chocolate cross from Walmart this Easter. But the landing was too wide for the 127 for the 5-inch hole pattern, so I added the 135 6-hole pattern. Yesterday I had David do that, and so I wanted to make at least a pair of these. I'm actually going to make them 1 ohm single, because I think they're more likely to sell as individuals rather than as a pair. And then we'll probably do just I want to do a 9-inch spider, but I think the GONZO cone might be too deep, so we may have to do the 8-inch spider or 8.5. And then so that we can still do the GONZO cone. Oh, I also have I have a buyer up in Colorado. He hasn't given me a deposit yet though, so it's still, technically it's up for sale. It's this 4 HP with basically the Audio Pulse blue. We call it the Optimus Prime blue. The powder coat company calls it the fairy blue, because it's, or tranny blue. But that one is available, and I found the 2 4-inch adapters. So I have the adapters for 4-inch, so I can build at least 1 top assembly, and then I think I also have so that way I can build something else. I don't necessarily have to build those because I only have 1 motor. But where are they at? Here's the 15-inch cones. I have 2 of those. They say the TC Sounds on them. So I can build those out as either 3-inch or 4-inch. If anybody's interested in that. I have at least I want to reserve at least 1 for the 4 HP. Oh, I could probably do a 15-inch 4x4 with that cone if anybody's interested. Robert, the Robert guy that was doing the T2, this is the first one that he burned up. Which was the GONZO Junior D2, and I went ahead and remade this one with a slightly longer voice coil, and so I want to get the parameters on this one too. I'm always experimenting, so I mean, there's no way to find out if you can suck your own dick unless you experiment. You know what I mean? Oh, and I have a pair of the Cylon motors. As you can see, the Cum Queen ended up putting the devil's jizz on this side. It didn't need it because it was bolted. But I'm going to go ahead and do it to this one too, so that they match. But I wanted to reserve these for either a pair of 18s or a pair of 15s. Lord of Bass just doesn't have the frames right now that have the 127 millimeter pattern, but that's the Cylon motor. And then I have one of the Cylons left with the it's a 3 ohm single coil. But I was going to go ahead and advertise that one as well if anybody wants it. I think we did them for $350, so we can do it for $350 shipped, which is fine. And then I have one more dual 4 Cylon. Where's the coil at? Oh, that's a little one. This one. This is the Dyer 60 millimeter copper coil with a stiffer spider from Lord of Bass. Very heavy duty. This one is dual 4. And then I think I have one more Cylon, original Cylon with the chrome chassis. Where did it go? Where is it? Where is it? Not seeing it. It's around here. But it's a 12-inch with a the chrome 4-spoke frame and a very big motor. And so that one is for sale as well, but only in dual 4 because I want to use this up. But again, it's a good mix if you have like a kicker amp or Alpine amp or something that's 2 ohm optimized. And of course I can offer it with the Recoil Audio DI 1200.1, which is 2 ohm optimized and does at least 1200 watts RMS.